Hello everybody, my name is Justin, and I wanted to take a look at, give a little bit of a breakdown to my particular entry into the Blipsounds contest to give people an idea of what was going on with my particular sound. So here we go. So here's the project in Reaper. I'm going to go section by section, go through every little thing that I did so that you get an idea of what exactly I did for this particular sound effect. So here we go. By the way, this is my first time using Reaper. I know a lot of people use Reaper as their main program for sound design stuff, so I thought I'd try it out. I've heard a lot of good things about it, and coming from Pro Tools, Ableton, FL Studio, Logic, I thought I'd try something new. The first thing I did was, obviously, I brought in the video into its own track on the first channel here, brought the volume all the way down, because if I mute it, it's just going to go away. So I brought it in on its own track, brought the volume all the way down. I did not listen to the original sound at all. I even think when I watched the original announcement video, I just skipped it because I heard that they were playing the audio. I'm like, no. I don't want to be influenced by this. I don't want to hear what's going on. Next, I brought in all of the source recordings that we could. I actually modified one, so I got Watermelon 2, so I can get rid of the background noise in the Watermelon sound, so I can use it a little bit better. But all the source recordings are right here, and I have them all muted in a separate thing here. I don't have this muted because first I just found out that if I soloed this, I could just audition sound effects, and I thought that's really cool. Okay, this works really, really well. There's a lot of events going on in this particular sound, so I wanted to make sure, I hate going frame by frame and making sure that like everything is like tight, and since there's so many like individual events going on in this particular sound, I wanted to, mark those events so that I know where everything's at, so I don't have to just every single sound effect line up frame by frame. So I added markers, went through and did markers for every single sword slash. First couple sounds here are for the enemy unsheathing their weapon. I used the fork cheese grater sound, pitched it up 5 semitones, and then I used one of the UFO dings as kind of like the shing sort of sound. So that's how we get this going on. Going more to what the player is actually doing, I wanted to make sure that I have the, there's like this Wraith energy, ghost magic. I don't know what you would call it, but it has like this aura effect on it. And I wanted to give some kind of, visual indicator of that aura. So I took the white noise whoosh, manipulated it around a little bit with, what did I use here? I used the Reason Rack plugin. I use that a lot in this project because there's a lot of cool effects that we can do. And I used this modulation effect so I can get these nice little cool sweeps. And I also used a little bit of delay to kind of round it out a little bit more. Together that sounds like this. Nothing really too great on its own, but just it adds a layer in there to really accentuate those feeling of, the ghost magic effect. The punch sound effects that were offered have like a little bit of like a whoop at the very beginning of it, so I thought it would be a good idea to like take those whoosh sounds and maybe add them to be part of the sword sound effects. That's how we get these. It's a little layer that kind of adds a little bit of realism to it, in my opinion. Obviously, we got the punch. Not really too much editing on that. I mean, I kind of EQ'd it, maybe pitched it around a little bit, just kind of made it fit to the scene. But I also layered it with the axe, so to give it a little bit, just gives it a little bit more of a raw sound to it, in my opinion. And then, again, same thing over here. Use a different punch sound, manipulate it a little bit so it doesn't sound exactly the same. I had too much fun with making the blood. I don't know why. It became really visceral for me. It was the watermelon really worked. And again, I exported the watermelon sound effect and removed the background noise that was in it so that I could work with it a little bit better. And that was just taking bits of it and just lining it up the way that I felt would work. I also panned them around a little bit. There's a lot of panning in this project. I got blood flying to the left, flying to the right. That way it has more of a, 3D sort of feel to it, or maybe two-dimensional. It's just not straight down the center. Next are the sword thuds. I would put this all on one particular track, but since these were all coming up really sequentially, really quickly, I didn't want to, have them layered on top of each other, because then that's just going to ruin the effect. It's going to get rid of the tails of the sword text. So I just put it on 3 different tracks. If anyone knows a better way of doing this, please let me know. I'm always willing to learn more about it. Yeah, I just kind of took the punch sound effects. I kind of faded them in so they didn't have as much of that hard transient in it. So that's how we get these. And I also cut off the the sub frequencies for these, because at first they have a lot of sub frequencies, but I really wanted that big impact with like the shing straight into the head to have the most, rumble, the most impact to it. So that's what this is. It's a bypass for the EQ, so that it turns off so that we can get the this part to be more impactful. Also, I took one of the punches, stretched it out a little bit so that it got this, more tail to it. It had this deeper feel. So then, and I layered it with another punch, and we just get this epic sound. A lot of reverb on that too. There's some extra layers in there too. We're working with swords, so swords need to have a little bit of shing to them, don't you think? So we got a little bit of these sword shings going on here. Again, I layered them on 2 different tracks, 3 different tracks actually, to make sure that they get their own space. You also notice I added even also panning to this, because the sword's going left and right sword attacks. So again, I wanted that space to be felt in the sound effect. There's obviously some pitch variation in there too. I wanted to have this build kind of through the sound to make it like build up the energy. And I did that with the sword thuds too, like the thuds. I had the pitches kind of rise a little bit to give a little bit more of anticipation, a little bit build up to it. And then we have this. I just took one of the UFO sounds and just put a lot of reverb on that, extended it out, pitched it up. I love it. This part is probably my favorite. The head falling on the ground next to, because the head's gonna fall on the ground, right? You don't want to not put that sound in there. So I just took the spoon dirt sound. I just manipulated it a little bit, and it just sounds like it's landing in the grass next to. I panned it to the ones. I don't know why, I just find it so funny. Next, I wanted to make sure that the enemy and the player, they're walking around, so they need to have footstep sounds. So I took the dirt spoon sounds and just kind of manipulated them a little bit. A lot of volume and panning and pitch variation to just kind of make it sound more realistic of footsteps. It's not perfect, but it does, add a little bit to the scene. I'm either going to get flack for this or not, but I decided that once I blew up the video and looked at it, I'm like, oh wait, it's drizzling in the scene. So maybe I should add a little bit of rain sounds? So I took the watermelon and I just kind of chopped it up, put a lot of delay on it, and I also did that with the noise to just put some delay, and it just kind of give this like general noise background that kind of sounds like rain. It's so subtle that you probably won't notice it. Once I got everything laid out, I like to get a skeleton for everything first and then just add stuff on top of it. The last part that I did was these pizzazz layers. These layers that kind of add a little bit more fun to the sound, in my opinion. So the first one here is just this low growl kind of effect whenever it's in the slow motion time slow down part, just to really accentuate that like grittiness of it all. And again, I made that with the whoosh sound, pitching it around and adding a little bit of modulation. I wanted to add some anticipation build up for the like ghostly elements of it, the Wraith elements of it. So I found this really interesting part in the Reason Rack plugin. This eerie preset. It just sounds terrifying. And I added this modulation effect to kind of give it a little bit of direction as well. I also put that sound on this like reversed punch, just to add a little bit of into the first attack. Has that little tail that sticks out on the end of it. That's pretty much it for the sound, and then all together it sounds like this. Thank you to Blipsounds for hosting these monthly competitions. They're always really fun to do, but thank you guys. This one was really fun. Had to really rack my brain to figure out what I wanted to do for this one, and yeah, thank you so much.